Ho. So, now, I'm parked here because I only come here, it's only going to be once a week, ideally not even once a week. The prevailing wind is from the west, which is over there, and I sussed out in my territory, even though it's so depressing looking at this absolute fucking travesty. Anyway, quick, they've got electricity here. Now, if I was going to have planned to do one of these cheesy, hey, I'm a cool guy in a van, or, well, I see there were a couple of women I came across doing one a couple of years ago in Cornwall, like, let's get our expensive, what do they call them? Those power packs, £1,000 one they have. No. It's so much better for you living on the edge. Anyway, in there they have a cafe. I don't really want to go to that cafe, but I've got to charge up. But here's the important thing. So if you're living thriftily, which is living next in a godly manner, before I go in there, I have put onto my gang bar, and I shall have just one plug out, please note, right? But I don't normally leave these plugged in because they get damaged. But when I sit down, I want to straight away, so the laptop's plugged in. I wouldn't even leave that plugged in normally because it might get worn and damaged. But the laptop's plugged in, and straight away, in fact, I'm going to walk in. And why do this? Because this whole horrible place, in fact, it's worse here than even past region. If you plug something in, God, they like, what are you doing? Stealing our electricity. I mean, they are so mean. So the way round that is one plug, that's already plugged in. But when I sit down, I don't want to be seen fiddling with my bag for a few minutes, which is actually how long it would take to carefully plug everything in. So they're plugged in prior to me going to the plug. Anyway, now I have a true, even though I'd forgotten about the main mission, actually, what's the key to life? Something to look forward to. They're washed yesterday in the river, and we are recommissioning that. Now that the summer's here, I also knew that this faces the sun. So, oh yes, and that needs to be also plugged in. So that is my little battery charger. 3 of the 4 channels still work. Yep, that's done. So carefully I take that in, see if the plug is free, and the other laptop, which has got a terrible intermittent fault, in fact it generally comes back to life if I really violate it, but it hasn't been. So it may be finished off now. Why have I turned this on, really? Yes, because it is important. That's going to stay there to remind me of somebody. Yeah, you've got to have a laugh. Maybe the only one who doesn't take herself seriously. I've no idea, because that's 10 years I have been doing 4 or 5, 3 dangerous regional nature conservation / and I don't use the words campaign or activist. You just have to get involved in the regional small p politics of finding out what's going on, who may be actually really not the obvious candidates polluting or wasting materials. The reality is the farmers in the hills around Herrick Hill, I saw over 5 years, because they don't give a fuck, because they hate Greens, because Greens don't find ways of speaking with them in a kind of, they don't put themselves on their level. It's their land. They have their problems, and I'm not talking about financial returns. For example, a lot of the middle-aged and older farmers no longer have anybody in their bed, or just a woman who may be their friend in life. Help them fucking sort that out. No, not this lot, not the mermaids. Oh, the mermaids would never. Oh, no, you farm meat. Well, if you want to actually encourage somebody to maybe farm less meat, be their special friend. No, mermaids can't think like that. Mermaids have wasted. You see, that's why I'm actually running out of money. I've calculated I've got £15 for fuel for 1 week, and my only luxury is 1 packet of tobacco. That's it. Otherwise, nothing left for a week. It's great. Focuses you. The point, yes. Taking interest, being, or not, I don't even use the word leading, nudging various people into, that's really what's going on in our environment. I know, because I walk it many days of the month for quite a few years. And you want to know who's wasting more wood than anybody else? I'm afraid to say it's these farmers up in these hills. They don't give a fuck. They really can't stand you with your nowadays blue hair, etc. But you have to find a way of dealing with them in a human way. No Greens ever do that. So, waste of time. All the fake campaigners. I stopped the development at Titley, stopped the development in Hay-on-Wye, the Waitrose plan there, or rather, more importantly, relocating the school a kilometre away out of town. I did that alone. They'll deny that one, but that. I didn't mind the danger of that, because it was almost like self-harming to get over 3 full years of total pain and grief, in the abyss. I got Hay Festival on Radio 4, asking them very tough questions. It was me alone, not Anne Addyman, or Brichto as she goes by, I think. I set that up. I set Anne up. Why are you Hay Festival with all your green talks using EOS First Class Only airline as your main sponsor? I did that. A few months later, 6 weeks later, I was wandering around just to see what you can. I make a joke, see what I can steal, and they actually put a security guard on me, tailing me. I put on Twitter that weekend of the Hay Festival, I think it was 2010 or 11. Right, strike. Florence has got a financial relationship with the developer who's going to benefit if your school is relocated onto the community trust owned strip of playing fields, which are meant to bar this entirely. Strike. All the ordinary security blokes who their kids are at that school, they don't like this, right? I'd never even spoken to anybody, because it's too risky, and anyway, you're just going to get your time wasted. But that worked. A week later, the word went through into the school. We're not going to be furthering this planning application to build they never admitted, but build a Waitrose on the main Hay car park, and then move the primary school 1 kilometre out of town, which would have meant parents basically having to drive instead of walk their kids to the main primary school. So I alone did that. Blah, blah, blah. But much more importantly, analysing, figuring out who are polluting the rivers, the River Arrow, why, what's going on. You're frightened. I can't say that. I couldn't even speak of my best friend, really, for a year or two. Unfortunately, their operation, probably the worst polluter. That makes me sad. I don't want to hurt them, but forget that aspect. It's like, also, you can't speak out because somebody may, right, you're saying that, we will get you. That's the reality of it. So you have to have a few people operating together, but you have to do it so gently but intelligently, not Machiavellian, intelligently, in a kind of genuine human way. Hey, we're not really on the opposite sides. You've got kids too. Is there a way we can put our ingenuity, communication skills to get you more money so that you can farm in a way perhaps that's not going to allow perturberance to damage the River Arrow? No, the Greens, I spent 10 years trying to find allies, encourage Greens in various ways, but then also artistically, like a couple I met doing a show about the green stuff about 5 years ago. Like, I invested about 2-3 fucking months in her. Like, this is great. Your act is great. Right. A few more of us need to be allies around they did street theatre that was unique. It was very in your face. It worked. They even kind of surprised me. It was like a kind of free range street theatre. I encountered them in Ludlow. It's like, yeah. And then somewhere down the line, 2 or 3 months down the line, it's like, we had about 10 emails. And, with her fantastic husband. Hey, that's fucking great. Right, I know a few people in Hay. I know a few people in Kington. We need you there as well. Okay, you're doing it. No. Every fucking, like, that one I must have put about 10 hours into thinking of intelligent emails to send them, to encourage them, after a long chat in person. No. That's why I never have any money for electricity. 10 years of this. 10 fucking years. And I'm glad of every second of my time wasted, because they'd simply proved to me gradually it was never the plan. I know what the problem is. The problem is this inability to just, hey, let's put our energy into what next, rather than what we may or may not think of or assume of any potential ally today or yesterday. That's the problem that all of these mermaids cannot be fucking human and realise it's not them. I don't blame anybody else. Only them. They're Eckhart Tolle, they're fucking Russell fucking Brand, and there'll be other variants of them, have just brainwashed them into this absurd sensitivity that's the exact opposite of making good, lasting relationships, which you need. You need 3 or 4 on side if you're going to even have those conversations with the local farmers, because you can't just go on once and like, hey, we're the local Greens. Yeah, we know about this, but hey, what about this? Yeah, you've got to be there. They'll play games with you because they're lonely, because they're slightly intimidated by anybody who's taken over the environment from towny areas. So you have to stick in there with them, and it might take years to come to an eventual kind of compromise, better place that both sides can end up being proud of. No, it's impossible for any Green ever to even know this. They are so personality disordered, narcissistic, and it's not going to change until the next generation says, you were fucking like this. That's the truth, and I've got all the proof in my bag. I'm going on to my biz bag now. Yes. Years of conversations, etc., etc. That's the proof. Nothing has ever disproved that. Well, it's not a thesis. It's fact, if that's all you ever encounter. There you go. I've made a poem about this. I must finish it. I like it. Right. Action stations.